All right. Looks like we're live and we're recording. And again, it's another financial wrap up. It's Financial Friday. I have my good friend, Michael Zuber. How are you today, Michael?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful. I'm really happy. I love these wrap ups. It's kind of the capstone to my week. After reading probably 8 to 10 hours of material, we get to talk about the biggest pieces of the week. And this week, it's like, dude, Ty and I have been telling you this for 6, 8, 12 weeks. It's kind of all happening. So pretty excited to talk about it.
Yeah, let's just get right into it. So I know that there were retail sales and unemployment, but there was number reporting. Let's talk
Mhm.
about that.
Yeah, so Thursday was a big day. Thursday has been a big day for 54 to 58 weeks, mainly for negative reasons. Thursdays are the day new unemployment claims come out. They were above 700K for far too long, hurting too many people, peaking at 6.6 million 1 week back in last March. So bad, 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 negative, horrible, tragic news. This Thursday, we went from last week being at something like, this is from memory, something like 759,000. So again, above that threshold. All the way through, we crashed through 700, we crashed through 600. And I think the posting was like 568 or 572 or something. Anyways, under 600,000. So the trend line, knock on wood, is broken. Our fourth lane of our highway, right? Our economy, the service industry that has been wrecked horribly in the last year, is starting to recover. We saw bars and restaurants up like 15%. We saw construction up. We saw all the right areas of our economy starting to work. And it is so exciting. I think this is going to lead, knock on wood, to a trend that's negative, right? Hopefully we stay below 600,000 again next Thursday, right? These week to week numbers can have some volatility in them, but I'm going to say the trend line's broken. And we had to have that first. And I've told you that 6, 9 months ago. I said, we're going to be in this terrible environment until we break it. And this was the week we broke it. And what ultimately comes from this is, in about 2 or 2.5 weeks, we're going to report job creation, which last month was a blowout number, like 937,000, just shy of a million jobs created in the month. I think this month is going to show that we've created over a million jobs. Again, long way to go. If you want to be negative, go be negative. But what I'm telling you is we are coming out of this. We're coming out of this fast. It's the consumer is going to be super excited. They got all this money on the sidelines. I'm excited by what's coming. And most importantly, because you and I have been telling them it's coming. And it's kind of like, all right, we're in the sun. This is what the sun feels like after being in this, dark tunnel for 54 or 58 weeks. I'm pretty excited. Hopefully people can tell.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. It's interesting too that, I've been out a little bit just as the weather is getting nice here in
Mm-hmm.
Northern California. I've been out at restaurants. Things are starting to open up. There's indoor and outdoor dining,
Yeah.
which is really nice. And it feels vibrant and it feels
Yeah, dude,
more alive than any other time.
the Warriors are actually going to have fans for the first time next Friday, right? It's
Yeah.
kind of crazy. Yeah, it's been a year. It's crazy, crazy.
Super cool. It's funny too that it's speaking of food industry, and this was something that's happened in the last couple of weeks. Is my 17-year-old daughter, who's a junior in high school, just took a job at a local sushi restaurant, which she loves.
Mm.
She's a server. She's super happy. She's got a big smile on her face because she comes
Nice.
home with tips, and just loves the environment and her coworkers. And she said that even there, they're so busy, they're trying to hire more kids, and
I'm telling
it's
you, man,
busy again.
this hold on. 1984 was the fastest growing economy of my life. In my life's 5 decades, 84. I think there's every chance that 2021 blows 1984 out of the water. It's going to be, hold on, right? Get ready. It's going to be good.
I love that. I love that. I got a fond memory of 83, 84. That's when I first started paying attention to real estate. And
Ah,
then I remember my folks, we moved, and I remember them buying this home in 83, and the whole and then the house like nearly doubled, within a few years after. So
yeah.
yeah, I think we're definitely in a boom. Let's talk about the CPI. Why don't you explain what does CPI stand for, and then talk about inflation?
Yeah. So, one of the joys, of going to get an econ degree and then an MBA is you really get to study a lot of the metrics that the government puts out, right? So I want to say it was a week ago today. It might have been 2 weeks. It all blends together. They put out something called PPI, which is Producer Price Index, right? That's kind of the beginning of the supply chain, right? And that was up, I think it was up like 4.6% year on year, which is like second highest ever. But when you're at PPI or when you're a producer, you have a choice, right? You can choose to reduce margins and still keep the same endpoint to the consumer, right? You have some variability in there. So the one that most people will look at and the Fed will argue is CPI, because that stands for consumer, right? That's you and me, consumer price index. And, it came out, I think it was Tuesday. It was hot. They were expecting 2.5. It came out at 2.6. Ex gasoline, it was like 1.1 or something. But again, it came out hot. And what people need to realize is, and I've told, again, I love telling folks and then coming, it's like, haha, we told you this. This month was going to be kind of subdued. Next month and the month after are going to be barn burners, right? I would be shocked if CPI is not above 3% next month, because inflation is here. Now, the real question is the Fed right? Have we had so many supply chain hits? Think chips and automobiles, right? That's the one that's probably most relevant to folks, right? Ford, GM, even Tesla have had to slow production at least some days and some shifts because they don't have enough chips to put in their cars, right? That's a supply chain problem. And what happens when you can't deliver as many new cars? Used car prices go up,
Yep.
right? That's inflation, right? That's, you're trading a new car for a used car. And inflation is real. Inflation is going to be above 2% without question the whole year. The question is, does it go above 4? And does it stay above 4 for too long? Because inflation is the thing that could just wreck the Fed, right? The Fed will have to react if it stays too hot, gets out of control, looks permanent versus transitory. It could be a problem. And it's the one thing that I could just imagine, like Jerome Powell crossing his fingers going, please be short term, please be short term, please be short term, because otherwise his printing of trillions of dollars is going to be a problem. And that could hurt lots of folks. So inflation is real, man. I don't know about you, but man, I just filled up my car the other day. It's like, damn, that's more expensive. So, I mean, gas is up, food's up, construction's up. I mean, walk down to Home Depot or Lowe's and everything is more expensive. It's here. And so we got the first taste of it, but it's next month's CPI reporting is going to be eye-opening, I think.
Absolutely. Well, I love that you've got an eye on it. I follow your news on YouTube, and obviously I have the great pleasure of doing this show with you on Friday. So thank you for all the research and the work you put in. So thank you.
Oh, no worries. I enjoy it.
Let's talk about, so as an example too, in inflation, and you talked a little bit about materials costs. Specifically, I want to get into, what do you still see? And I think we still see the same thing. And it's really unfolding that property values are still appreciating. We're still seeing crazy multiple offers. And most of the major metros in California, all the real estate brokers and agents I talk to. Let's talk about inventory and interest rates. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, so inventory first. So again, I love the fact that we've been telling folks, and again, we're wrong all the time. I'm wrong all the time. Just ask my wife. But what I see happening in real estate, I think is it's a repeat of what I saw in the 06, 07 timeframe. We are right at the cusp, in my opinion, of inventory going higher. And all we've wanted is inventory to go up. Whether you're a homeowner, an investor, we need more inventory. More inventory creates more variability. More variability creates more options. And we stop having 20 offers, which is really not good for anyone. So that's coming. But before we get there, we have this blow off top. And I'm already seeing it in my email because I go on a bunch of lists from local brokers and whatnot. And I think we're already experiencing it. You're seeing mom and pop who didn't sell last year, who maybe naturally would have. They're starting to list now, right? It's very subtle, but if you pay attention like I do every day, you see it. And what's happening is they're listing their properties at what I will call stupid prices. Stupid. Like 100K higher, and they expect it to sell in 3 days, which, oh, by the way, was happening 3 months ago. But what happens now, as inventory comes out a little more every day, that same behavior is done by each consumer seller. And ultimately what will happen is the cream of the cream, the best of the best, they will sell just as fast, right? So, the best will get, instead of 20 offers, they will get 10, but again, it only takes one, it'll be gone in a heartbeat. But what is going to start to happen as days and weeks and months go by is most of the new listings won't be the best of the best. They'll be overpriced junk or overpriced semi junk. And that stuff will sit. And suddenly days on market will expand. And then suddenly we'll see price drops. And suddenly you're going to start seeing sellers mad at agents because the agent told them, oh my God, that other junky house down the street sold for this and it sold for that. And they had 17 offers. You can get yours too. Yay. But what's happening, folks, is if you're not paying attention and if you're too focused, the market is already changing. The market will be vastly different in July or August than it is in April. And I say that because I look every day. And again, all of this, in my opinion, is great news. It's better for homeowners. It's better for sellers. It's better for investors. So I'm encouraged by what's coming. But realize if you're an agent, for example, lots of agents watch this show, you've got to be careful today. Because if you come into a junky, I don't know, 3-bedroom, 1-bath, 1950s build that hasn't been touched forever and overpromise, and they're just the 17th junky old house coming on, you could be putting yourself at risk, right? This is not January. It's April. We are just stepped into the sun. I told you the sun was coming. We are now here. And that just means more and more people are going, hey, I got a lot of equity in this freaking beat up old house. I should sell and go buy that golf course house. Just realize when more and more people do that, right? First mover wins. But if you're the third or fourth or fifth mover, you might be negatively surprised. So I think the real estate market is really changing. It's hard to see in the data because it's so minute. But I think August will be very different than April.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And it's interesting because I am seeing a lot of what I would deem as mediocre inventory, but
that's a much better word. Much better word. Mediocre. I couldn't think of another word from perfect and junk. Yeah, mediocre is the right answer. Yeah, you're correct.
Yeah, I mean, the house would probably qualify for financing, but it's got older kitchens, older bathrooms, older flooring.
Yeah, it's clean but old. Yeah, it's just.
Yeah, so I mean, that's a perfect. It's interesting too because I have friends where they're looking at flips and like the idea of wholesaling, where it's like, we'll get this property, we'll just kind of clean it up. Yeah, maybe paint, the doors and trim, but then you're not going to get premium pricing. That was 60 days ago. The inventory's changed.
Yeah. I hope people replay that because right now, I just had somebody reach out to me. They want to do their first flip the other day. And that's what they were going to do. And I'm like, I'm not betting on that because you're going to be in and out of this thing in 90 to 100 days. That means we're in July or August. I'm like, unless you're going to do a full-on flip, I mean, granite and everything, because I still think this year the best of the best sells. There's enough people that want the best, the perfect, but there's too many people half-assing it today because the money was easy.
Yep.
And that's gonna. I mean, I saw it last time. Flippers that don't time it right, they get crushed. They have hard money. They're all daisy chained together. The dominoes fall. So don't half-ass it today. You could half-ass it the last 12 months. I think the next 12 months bites you.
I couldn't agree with you more. It was the same mistake I made in 2007, 2008 was I scaled too big. I had, wasn't really finger on the pulse and had a lot of kind of half-ass projects and we were able to get away with it. We were still making money until there was a shift in inventory. There was a shift in the consumer psychology. So what you're saying, so spot on. I couldn't agree with you more.
Be careful.
Yeah. Which leads me to my last question is that as an example, so I'm on a deal right now where there's a solar lease. It was new information and it turns out it's one of these Tesla solar leases. It's like 196 months at so much. And I'm looking at them going, this doesn't make any sense. It doesn't pencil.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm wrong. And I want to understand. So I want to get your point of view. This is something we've never talked about, but obviously I know you have an opinion.
Oh yeah.
If you were underwriting a deal for yourself, how do you factor in the value of that if there is solar lease, how do you look at that?
Yeah, so it's going to depend on whether it's a flip or a long-term hold, right? Because you would run it different. My experience predominantly is long-term hold. Basically, I would calculate that lease kind of like an HOA, right? I wouldn't pay it off. It would just be an expense that I have to add. I might raise rents slightly to kind of offset, because the tenant who in a house usually pays utilities will have a much lower bill. So yes, I may be able to offset it, but probably not one for one. So I would just run the numbers. I'm not a big fan of buying properties with solar lease, because it is just, that's an expense to me. I have not added solar to any of my units, because again, why would I do that? The tenant pays the utilities. There's all those decisions. And then on the flip, especially if it's new information, it wasn't disclosed, I would try to work out some kind of, I would try to get that thing paid off at close of escrow by having the seller eat a lot of that, if you know what I mean.
That's exactly what I told the guy that's on the deal with me. And I, just so you know, for the record, I did not pre-frame this. I told you I was going to ask you this as a blind question. I didn't set this up, right?
Nope, did not.
No setup.
No.
Anyway, Mike, thank you so much. Any closing thoughts on this?
No, the other thing just to talk about is interest rates. The 10-year did not behave as I expected, right? We got blowout econ numbers and it fell. You just never know what the Fed's doing. The Fed could be in the market buying the long end, which forces rates down. I actually have Matt, the mortgage guy, my broker, coming on later today, because I'm like, dude, how can interest rates be down when the economy is booming? So watch out for that. I suspect rates go higher. We may have a little window where the Fed tries to force them down. Just stay close to your broker, figure out what's going on, lock in. If they gave you a gift of a quarter point, take it, because rates should be higher given everything going on.
I love it. So you heard it here. We've been talking about this a long time. Take advantage of these fixed rate markets, these low. We're not going to see rates like this ever again, probably in our lifetime. Would you agree with that, Michael?
Certainly in this cycle, and cycles run 10 to 20 years. I mean, yeah, certainly in the next couple of decades. I just can't imagine.
Can't imagine. Well, I would agree. So Michael, thank you so much for your time. I want to encourage everybody, please follow Michael at One Rental at a Time. He's on YouTube. He has amazing, great financial news, great content, as well as other content. How many videos do you have up now?
Almost 3,500.
3,500 videos. So all very high value, high education based. Also the book.
Yeah.
Here's the book. One rental at a time.
Do me a favor, folks. If you have the book, a challenge I have, it was actually an interview with Omar earlier in the week. And I want to create a collage of book selfies. So if you have the book, take a picture of it with you, or maybe if you don't want to be on camera, take a picture of the book, whatever you're looking at, and tag me on Instagram. I want to create a collection.
I love it. As always, Michael, thank you for your time, and we'll look forward to next week. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You got it, brother.